It was a quiet, moonless night when Emily arrived at the cabin deep in the woods. She'd booked it for a weekend getaway, hoping to escape the chaos of her city life. The air smelled of damp earth, and the only sounds were the rustling leaves and the occasional call of a distant owl. Inside, the cabin was cozy but old. The wooden floor creaked with every step, and the fireplace cast flickering shadows on the walls. As Emily unpacked, she noticed an old journal sitting on the coffee table. Its leather cover was worn, and the pages were yellowed. Curiosity got the better of her, and she flipped it open. The first entry was dated nearly a century ago. It described a family who had lived in the cabin, their lives filled with joy, until strange things began happening. The journal told of whispers in the night, objects moving on their own, and sightings of a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the forest. The final entry was scrawled hastily, the ink smudged. "He's here. We can't escape." Emily laughed nervously, dismissing it as an elaborate prank or an old ghost story. She closed the journal and decided to call it a night. But as she lay in bed, sleep eluded her. The silence was oppressive, and the shadows seemed to dance more vividly than they should. Just as her eyes began to close, she heard it, a soft knock at the front door. Her heart leapt into her throat. Who could be visiting at this hour in the middle of nowhere? She crept to the door and peeked through the peephole. Nothing. The porch was empty. Relieved but still uneasy, she turned back toward the bedroom and froze. A figure stood at the end of the hallway, shrouded in darkness. Its shape was barely human, more like a twisted shadow come to life. Emily's breath hitched as the figure slowly raised an arm, pointing directly at her. She stumbled backward, her mind racing. The journal's words echoed in her ears. "He's here." Summoning every ounce of courage, she grabbed the fireplace poker and swung it at the figure. But it passed through like smoke, dissipating into the air. Terrified, Emily fled the cabin, not stopping until she reached her car. As she sped away, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The cabin was dark, its windows lifeless. But at the edge of the forest, illuminated by her taillights, stood the shadowy figure, watching her leave. Emily never returned to the cabin. Weeks later, she found the journal in her bag, though she was certain she'd left it behind. The final page now bore a new entry in jagged writing. "You can run, but you'll never escape."